Picture perfect for a day's running rugby in West London on the fast 4G of Vallis Way, the home of Ealing Trailfinders, who are chasing a title against their West London rivals Richmond Rugby today. It started 19 games ago and 197 days. And like every great league, it is boiled down to this very final act. It is a championship decider. Ealing know exactly what they need to do. Win, and the title is theirs. Rob Vickerman, you are here in West London with me in a day where we've experienced all four seasons, but thankfully the sun is shining to aid what could be a game that is going to be fast and furious.
Fast and furious with plenty to play for. As you mentioned, all the ingredients for a spectacular afternoon. Both teams with the willing to play is exactly what you want to see. And we've got to also say, you see it often, the Championship, a great league for flowing rugby players, perhaps on either the way up or the way down from where they aim to be, but net product is a pretty decent afternoon of rugby.
Well, the team just going through the final motions of warming up, and Richmond there on the left and Ealing on your right. And I said that it has all distilled down to this one final fixture kicking off at 3. And Donny, well, they did exactly what they needed to do, but they left it late. And thankfully for them, Lloyd Wielden stormed across with only minutes remaining at Lady Bay to force them up to the top and ask a win of Ealing Trailfinders. A draw will not do for the men from Ealing because Doncaster have won more games. While meanwhile, Cornish Pirates currently 21-7 up against Ampthill, which will have an impact on Richmond's designs to finish in their highest league position ever in the Championship. So here's the league table, and that says it starkly. Doncaster sitting at the top, but Ealing snapping at their heels. We've said it once, we'll say it again. Only a win will do for the Ealing Trailfinders, and when they do so, they can name themselves champion. Richmond, with a bonus point win today, could leapfrog Ampthill, Coventry and Hartpury to finish 6th place, which would be a fine finish for the team that only registered one win in last year's truncated championship season.
Shows how tight it is at the top. Doncaster will be watching this so nervously. Ealing, with destiny in their own hands, is exactly where you want it to be as a player.
So they're the permutations. That is the wider scene that we are setting for the league, but we have the match here for you. Only two sides will have the say in where the title goes, and two men are trying to mastermind that. They're the directors of rugby of Richmond and Ealing, Steve Hill and Ben Ward respectively, and Vix, you caught up with them earlier.
Ben Ward, can you talk us through your emotions before what is potentially a club-defining day?
Yeah, look, we've probably been here before in terms of as we've moved up the leagues, and we've had a number of days like this. I think for us it's about sticking to the process. The boys making sure that we respect the opposition because they're a very good side. They've lost 7 games by less than 7 points, so we need to get our job right on the pitch, and then probably afterwards, if we can do that, then probably reflect a bit more then.
And you're a team that have come into this as favourites, as you have been all season. How is that a different mindset for your team?
Yeah, it's been something that we've probably wrestled with a little bit this year. In recent years we've been the underdog, and you can probably go out and play freely, and this year we've had to work on that because it's not always been smooth sailing. This league is incredibly competitive, and that's why it's such a good league as well. But for us, especially the last couple of weeks, it's almost taking the pressure off ourselves and going out and trying to play freely.
I've just seen the trophy is in the grounds here. What's it going to take for your team to lift it aloft in about a couple of hours' time?
Yeah, look, we want to start fast. We want to have that forward domination up front, and that will allow us to play on the front foot. And if we can do that, we know we're a tough side to stop. When we played down at Richmond at their place, we're 15-0 down at half-time, so we also know how good a side they are, and they've got a few of our ex-players in their team with Brighty, Ronnie McLean, people like that I'm sure will perform well and try and spoil the party. But yeah, for us, that forward platform up front will be vitally important today.
And both teams promising to play fast. Cannot wait for this one. Thanks for your time, Ben. Best of luck.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
So, Steve, just one win in last season's truncated season. You've gone far better this year. How would you summarise your season so far?
I think we've seen a huge improvement. I think we've been much more competitive in many more of the games. Beating Bedford home and away for the first time in many years, it just shows sort of the improvement that we've had. So really pleased the way the guys have developed and the team's come together. So and looking forward to finishing today with a really good performance.
And you've come here to Vallis Way, local rivals, fair to say. There's a bit of a party theme going on. There's some celebrations potentially happening at the end of it. Have you mentioned about crashing that party at all?
That's been the theme of our week. I mean, we haven't turned up today to make up the numbers. Our performance, particularly in the first half in the league game against Ealing, before Christmas, was tremendous. We were 17-0 up at half time. So we really think that we can, if we get into them today, we're going to make life difficult for them. Without a doubt, they're a very strong side. And their performance last week showed how well they're playing at the moment. But as I say, we haven't come just to smile at the crowd.
It's a fast start we're expecting. What else should we be looking forward to see for people perhaps watching Richmond for the first time today?
Well, I mean, we're not as big, we're not as powerful, we're not full time, so we have to move the ball. We have to make sure we get offloads away. We have to sort of play with a bit of width. We have to sort of make opportunities happen. So we want to play with no fear at all. We've got nothing to lose today. We're going to go out and give it all we've got, and the guys looking forward to it.
Oh, that's fantastic! Fighting talk. Can't wait for that. Thanks for your time, Steve.
You're welcome. Cheers. All the best.
So a win the name of the game, although the lesser spotted bonus point draw would do the business for Ealing. But that won't be in their minds, Rob Vickerman. You've been in games like this. You've been in promotion playoffs. You've been in decisive games to win leagues. What is the psychology coming into a match like this for Ealing?
It's a really interesting notion on the premise that many teams come into this with a real fear of losing. But it's almost that will to want to win and to really go out there and play. What I find intriguing from both of those conversations we just heard is about this intent that both teams are really wanting in wide, expansive rugby. Where actually, if you think about how teams are most successful, it's controlling the ball, it's your Saracens mantra of only really attacking from certain zones of the pitch. This could be frenetic, which fills me with excitement.
Yeah, and for the casual spectator, they might think that this is a foregone conclusion with Richmond coming to Vallis Way. Ealing, they've scored an absolute monster load of points, but Richmond have actually got the fifth meanest defence in the league. Only the top four and Ampthill have conceded less points than them. And there is a fear factor about Richmond that they have little to lose. And as you said, bright day, fast 4G pitch, they could throw it around and terrify defences.
That was one of the things that Steve mentioned that I really picked up on. The other one was for Ben Ward, about dealing with that pressure of being favourites. They've had seasons gone by where that wasn't ever part of their whole rhetoric, because there was a team clearly destined for the Premiership on the back of being relegated from it. Now this is a really interesting scenario, because this is as much pressure as they will have faced as players.
The Guard of Honour preparing to welcome the teams to the field. They're still out there warming up, still going through these motions. And this Richmond side, much has been made of them, still semi-professional. Unlike, well, they couldn't be more polar from Ealing. They're such a well-oiled machine, driving towards this title. But Richmond really do punch above their weight.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as an overall subject, and we're going to get into it. And it's essentially looking at professionalism that Ealing have got. 19 people in a backroom team, 50 squad players that are part of their professional setup, compared to the pragmatism of Richmond and them saying, if you're coming to our club, rugby will not be your sole income. And knowing that that's part of the conversation, players coming here still capable, still really good players, but not with that potential professional tag, I think it makes for a wonderful matchup. And that's why there's also this underlying contest throughout, the people who are aspirational for professionalism against those who perhaps aren't.
And for the league as a whole, it has been a marquee season. It has been the most fiercely competed. Cornish Pirates, Ealing Trailfinders and Doncaster Knights in the fight right to the very end. But teams like the Jersey Reds making a good account of themselves. Bedford Blues playing their thrilling brand of rugby. And really, this battle for sixth almost, with Hartbury sat in pole position at the moment, has been equally absorbing.
Yeah, and I go across quite a bit of rugby the world over. I can't think of such a league with an amazing spectrum as we have with this. You know, the aspirations we mentioned beforehand about teams who are wanting to compete at a higher level, those that perhaps are happy where they are but still very contested when they play at home especially. And it makes for an intriguing battle throughout the year. There's many local derbies have got as well, hotbeds of rugby around the country, ultimately wanting the title, which we may well see being offered to Ealing today.
Well, let's meet the runners and riders who'll be taking to the field and will be having the decisive say in this title decider, starting with the Ealing Trailfinders. For Ben Ward, his side's comprehensive defeat of Cornish Pirates last week has rather alleviated any selection headaches for Ealing's biggest game in their history. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the one thing that was broken last week was Lewis Feed, who misses out with concussion, which calls for the elevation of George Davis to start at tight head for just the 5th time in his 4 seasons at Vallis Way. He's partnered by Carl White at loosehead, who makes just his 6th start of the season, and they sandwich 10-try Jan Henning Kampfer at hooker. The two Craigs, Hampson and Willis, they'll run the show from half-back, with Luke Daniels wearing 11, eager to add to his 7 championship tries this season, with 1 coming against today's opposition at the Athletic Ground. For Richmond, Steve Hill's selection hand has been forced by a combination of COVID, illness and the general wear and tear of this gruelling championship. With Kane, Anyuanwu, Stafford and captain Cam Mitchell all unavailable, former London Scot Craig Duncan earns his first Richmond start in his less favoured centre role at 13, but has the uncompromising wisdom of Ronnie McLean at inside centre to help him through. It started with Plymouth Albion away in Nat 1 and it finishes here today with McLean retiring at the end of the match on 113 appearances in the famous red, black and old gold. The pack will miss an under-the-weather Freddie Hosking, but Henry Williams is strong, dependable and has plenty of grunt to allow Richmond's back row full of tries to shine. You know all about Mark Bright, but Hugh Worthington and Jared Cardew are perfectly capable of writing headlines themselves. Plenty of firepower on both benches. Harry Seward is set to make his first team debut for the Ealing Trailfinders, while Jordan Burns has scored 14 tries in his last 23 championship appearances, and he's only started 3 of them. As for Richmond, Monty Bradbury is set to make a debut, having trained only for the first time on Thursday night at Richmond. Such is the stress the backline selection is under. He's a touch of class, is the London Irish Academy man. We look forward to seeing what he can bring from the bench. The scene is set and Vallis Way awaits. The Richmond replacements beginning to drift out onto a turf that has not always served them so well. Some heavy defeats on the favoured 4G of the home side have been dealt Richmond's way, but let us not forget that in the back of Ealing's mind will be that 24-22 defeat at Richmond a few years back, when once again they were chasing a title in pursuit of London Irish. This Richmond side led 17-0 at half-time when these two met at the Athletic Ground earlier in the season. It took a titanic second half performance from the green and white hoops of Ealing to overturn the scoreline. This one is not a foregone conclusion, as Ronnie McLean-Dents leads the Richmond boys out on his last match, and he's followed by big Jimmy Litchfield on the occasion of his 50th appearance. He has amassed 50 first team appearances in just 54 matches available to him. He's come a long way since DMP away in National 1. Here he is on the grand stage, fighting to try and deny his West London foe, Ealing Trailfinders, a championship title. And the elevation in decibels tell you that the home side is taking to the field. The day of destiny has arrived for Ealing Trailfinders. Starting to feel like more of an occasion, isn't it, Rob?
It certainly is building. It's the nerves almost across the face of the Ealing players, and as you mentioned, free rein on the Richmond faces.
Well, Sarah Cox, well, you might recognise her from frolicking with the Duchess of Cambridge on the Twickenham turf recently. A very well-versed referee to get us underway in this decisive match. Well, slow ball to start things off. Ealing will shape the box from the boot of Craig Hampson. And Ealing invite Will Kay to counter for the first time. Oh, just not going to hand the pass behind, and Goebel flying onto it. Adventure from the word go from Richmond.
As you expect to see, both teams talking up this will to want to play from everywhere. Nice enough box kick from Hampson, went quite a long way downfield. The wind, as you'll see throughout this game, it'll play a big factor in how these kicks come about. But it's the experience you feel at halfback with both Hampson, number 9 on the ball now, and Willis at 10 for Ealing. Exactly the type of players you want to guide you through huge games like this. Rain Smith, the big number 8, big player, plays wholeheartedly whenever he takes the field.
Well, Rain Smith, 14 tries this season, and 5 of them have come against teams that call the Richmond Athletic Ground their home. One against the men who their scrum have absolutely pile-drived first time up, and a statement penalty to start the game.
And we talk about this intent to want to play, this will, and it expands rugby, but ultimately it comes down to that contest up front. Ben Ward was very coy, and they mentioned it pre-game, just about how dominant they want to be up front. But that was formidable scrum, wasn't it? Cartwright, Camphor and Davis pumped from their first scrum. Can they make it transcend to their line out as well?
Well, a big afternoon for George Davis. I mentioned just his second start of the season and only his 5th in Ealing colours. But it's the line out that'll be called into question first, and Jan Henning Camphor is joining the back, trying to control things from the joystick position. It breaks up, and there's a dart for the line, and Ealing are across early.
Well, what a start it is. The guys up front, I did think it was Zikwe managed to get over. And checked out the pink boots as he went over, gets congratulated from his players. But that is one hell of a start from Ealing's front 5. The scrum initially getting that power up front right through the spine of the team, and then executed perfectly in the corner. This is why they will cite their professional status has been pivotal. The amount of time they can spend on set piece play, driving line being a part of that, and then the power that they possess both individually and collectively. You're not stopping them that close to the line. Great start for them.
Well, there was the quick pick and goes, and the lack of urgency from Richmond to reorganise themselves at the back of the ruck. And Big Simon Azokwe registering his 14th try of the season. Well, Craig Willis was almost perfect from the tee last week against Cornish Pirates in similar conditions, but this one sails wide right of the upright. While he may have missed the conversion, Ealing will be delighted with a quick fire start.
Going to be a factor throughout this game. The Trailfinders Sports Club wind, it can ruin many a team.
Ealing back in possession, feeling good after that early score and sending it high to Will Kay once again. How will Richmond approach this one? Ted Landry drops it on the toe. Just looking for Craig Duncan. The bounce of the ball on this bouncy 4G evades him. And Ealing line out on the 10-metre line. Nice part of the field to launch an attack.
Yeah, it totally is. Practicing what they preach, Richmond. That will to want to play from deep. Cross kick it was from Kate. But we'll see this Ealing has been a net gain from that last sequence of play. It's an unfortunate line out though.
Well, an overthrow from Ealing did present the opportunity for James Hadfield to go on a charge, and boy does Hadfield charge. Very, very strong in the contact. Product of Bath University, and a young man really making some headlines in the hooker position for Richmond. But as it is, his knock-on means that the Richmond scrum will be tested once again by their opposition 8, who drove through them, on them, over them, and really set their stall out early moments ago on the other side of the field.
And Ealing looking to bring wing into play early doors. Option to go right as well.
Again, a mighty scrum from Ealing means they can roll the dice without consequence. Penalty advantage, big fizz ball off the bootstraps, and a good carry takes us through to the 22. Luke Daniels there. Nicely disrupted by Richmond, but deemed to be from the side. Second penalty, Richmond under pressure again, and whoa, Kel Surprise into the corner.
Well, no doubts there. Willis just wanted to put his juggernaut forward pack somewhere near enough to strike. But I tell you what, that pass that he just whipped out there, Willis, that must have blistered his fingers. Absolutely sent it across the field. And it was always his defining trait when he was playing at the Falcons, just how flat he can play to the line, meaning that he can get over the gangland if he wants himself, but then open up the whole back line with his firing passes.
An Ealing man down receiving attention. And probably a good time for this Richmond side just to pause and take a breath, because they've come up against a supercharged Ealing in this opening 6 or so minutes. Good crowd assembled here. They know what's at stake for the home club. And of course, it's the shortest of trips from Richmond here. The 65 can get you here, in fact, I know that.
Half of them got the tube. I saw some, even Broadway, all the players coming out with a coffee. Very lax, very relaxed Richmond players. And rightly so, nothing to lose, and it is a powerful thing to possess in the world of sports.
We say very relaxed Richmond players. We touched on it, the difference in approaches that both the clubs have. I was down at training at Richmond on Thursday just to have a look at them as they went through their paces, and it was quite sparsely populated because, according to Steve Hill, end of the tax year meant a lot of his insurance brokers and accountants were a bit busy. But they're going to be even busier here to defend a driving maul, but the throw not straight. The first error from Ealing, and a chance for Richmond to put in on their own ball.
Well, I think you've been generous there. I'll clock them down as having 2 errors. First line on the right hand side, this one on the near side. Line outs, one of the many aspects that they can spend hours on, as forwards tend to do. And that's where you want to be executing that skill set. Doesn't help though with the size of some of the Richmond towers against them. But it's certainly an opportunity gone for Ealing. You'd like to think the way this game started, just 7 minutes in, we're going to see a fair few opportunities from both teams.
So Richmond, they've been creaking, to put it mildly, on the Ealing put-in, and on their own they're slipped into reverse very, very easily. They scramble to get their hands on the ball. Bit of counter work from Ealing, but the pressure is intense, with Richmond only 2 metres from their line, but that'll do nicely for Richmond.
Well, again, slight generosity creaking at the scrum. That was a full-blown crack, I think. The power of this Ealing pack just showing they're almost intending to want to knock it on with purpose, because they are formidable come scrum time.
We mentioned some of the big towers that Richmond have in their line now. With the Ealing players up close and personal here, I can't say that they look that diminutive themselves. Will Carrick-Smith is the main outlet, and he goes up for Richmond. Doesn't find his hands. All 6'10" of him thrown into the sky. And Ealing, well, they'll scrum all day, won't they?
Again, I don't think Ealing will be too concerned about that. They know the pressures of this scrum. Ealing wanting to launch their attack, but Richmond, you feel as though that line-out's got to be something they can control. Many of these parts that make up the complicated game of rugby get added to create the sum. You need your line-outs to be strong, certainly having someone like Will Carrick-Smith in it. 6'10", he makes basketball players look small.
Well, his main focus now is to put some of that ballast into keeping his front row secure. Much more stable from Richmond, reassuringly so. They are beginning to creak, and the scrum winds round, and we're away. Ealing on the attack, seeking out seams in the midfield. Play continues to the right-hand side. Fast hands and a good chop low. Halts Ealing on their charge. Willis, the provider. Badilli, lovely ball in behind. He's got his hooker in pursuit, but the touchline will beat him. But plenty of variation from Ealing early in this match.
Yeah, that's the noticeable thing, isn't it? Already seeing different types of play coming through. The wide, expansive passing from Willis. The short kicking game there from Badilli. In behind, it's so difficult then to try and adjust your defensive set, knowing they can attack from anywhere with any variant. And one thing we've also not mentioned yet is the speed of this game is most definitely going to be a factor on fitness levels, which, as we keep going back to, as a professional team, Ealing may well be thinking they've got an upper hand there.
Richmond secure their line out for the first time from the new man, Henry Williams. Good heavy carry from Richmond, but three Ealing players pounce and drive. There's no let-offs for Richmond at the moment. And Callum Watson shaped a box, but we're going to go left, and Jake Caddy gets picked up and put down by two Ealing men. Carrick-Smith on the dummy. Cardew has been so impressive in the 7 jersey this season for Richmond, really making a name for himself. And there's Hadfield to Johnny Harris, the front row union, linking up with some deft hands through the middle. Penalty 1, and a chance for Richmond to pump this deep into Ealing territory.
Again, it's coming from deep, isn't it? This is why it's such a good league. Teams just really wanting to play an expansive, frenetic style. Doesn't matter where they are on the pitch, they see opportunity from being deep in their territory. Watson, the man who was holding the strings for Richmond, and hopefully we get to see his attacking style. He is lightning.
Not afraid of a worldie is Callum Watson. I can tell you that for free, in the number 9 jersey for Richmond. One against Hartbury last season, another against Coventry. Plagued with injuries to this point, and he won't get the chance to attack because Ealing pick off Richmond's line out and then send it into the hands of Will Kay, who puts a lovely judge kick up into the Ealing half. Almost a 50-22, just falling shy of the 22.
What about that nudge? That was phenomenal. We're talking, what, 30 centimetres away from being that 50-22. Way down in his territory, almost just past his 22. Well, Kay was. That is a fantastic kick. Just shows this near side. Seen a couple of good exponents. Willis looking to probe. Hampson with the box kicks. But Kay's just made a big marker to his name.
Rain Smid, the captain, goes up highest at the back. Couple of heartening passages of play for Richmond, but Ealing well in control of this ruck, and Ealing just happy to test Kay all day. He's got diamonds in his boots though, Kay, when he gets going. Really dangerous, and here's someone who's dangerous. The Goliath winger, Alex Goebel, and boom! Massive smash in midfield. Good offload into the hands of Cardew. Richmond finding some fluidity. Watson just testing the seams himself, but the forced offload cedes possession to Ealing. Looks like there may have been another knock on there and they couldn't play the advantage.
Well, let a few players go and pick their ribs back up. There was some monster shots midfield. And you get that a bit when teams are looking for those offloads and big carries are coming around the corner. If you get there set early enough, get your line ready, you can fly in. But they were big collisions. Upper hand to Ealing on that one, I feel. It's a hell of a sparring contest up front.
Well, after Ealing's fast start and also them driving deep into Richmond territory only moments later, I think Richmond will probably be satisfied for play to just be oscillating between the two 22s at the moment. The scrum is a concern. They get to find first gear. Well, they get to find any gears that go forward, Richmond, at the moment.
I think that was not in reverse. They'll be happy.
It's neutral or reverse. And the handbrake isn't always necessarily on when it's in neutral. But just taking a bit of the momentum out of Ealing. Ealing haven't had that dominance they had in those early exchanges.
And they'll know in the back of their mind, because they spoke about it pre-game, that Richmond started well. They probably fed on the back of some errors from Ealing. They need to know they can have fluidity and freedom of play, but often just keeping the game tight enough in control that they're in control of that destiny, rather than perhaps a little too frenetic. Things like this moment exactly personified here. Normally you'd see Hampson tap in and go in. They know what their dominance is. They've got the upper hand in the scrum. They'll take another one and keep asking that question to the referee, Sarah Cox, that if they show such dominance in that area, will they look at a card potentially? And that's clever play.
Well, that number 4, Bobby DeWee, who's latching on to James Cannon, both colossal second rows. And you can attribute much of the power that is driving through the spine of this scrum to those two gargantuan men. Richmond have found a way to stabilise this scrum, and Ealing, through Hampson, will attack blind. They get some good easy meters on the short side. Mark Bright coming in with the tackle, but too high. Had to be frustrating for Richmond, having solidified the scrum, not giving away the penalty, then giving away a seatbelt for Ealing to charge up into the heart of the 22.
It should be the fuse that starts everything for Ealing. You can sense it already. This scrum, this utter dominance of that area. Although fair play to Ealing, at Richmond, they did stabilise that somewhat, and it was parity, but it then led to clean ball, one indiscretion, and back down into the Richmond 22. And again, line out, slightly faltering. That needs to be on point from Ealing.
Back to the driving maul that served them well in setting up their first try scoring opportunity, and it is gathering momentum before falling to the floor. Illegally so. Another penalty they're stacking up against Richmond.
Know the context of this game and the severity of it. This is where they could indeed choose a scrum. I know they've been going line outs, but it feels a little bit more 50-50 play at the moment from Ealing. Richmond have defended it admirably, but the scrum is so dominant that should be looking at using that a bit more in this situation, I feel.
I mean, the pictures tell a day of serenity, but it is very, very gusty here. A lovely transfer, one from the training ground for the Ealing Trailfinders, and then muscled over, I think, by Izokwe. He's in for his second, and Ealing are on the path to victory.
Well, it's an early shout, just 80 minutes in, but you feel as though the forwards have been read the right act pre-game, and they said it is down to them as an 8 collectively to really grab a hold of this game. As that is used many times in rugby about forwards winning the game and backs deciding by how many, but it's the way this game has gone sequentially. everything that has happened has been through 1-8. And Zukwe is another guy who's loving it to be at the back of a pack who are flying forwards. It's a wonderful place to be. And now his ex-Falcon teammate gets to potentially add the 2 as well.
Well, I said on the path to victory. I said they're not quite there yet. And as it stands, only 10 points on that path because another missed conversion from Craig Willis means that the score, after nearly 20 minutes played, Ealing Trailfinders 10, Richmond 0.
I think Richmond would be delighted for just 10 points but on the scoreboard. Certainly feels as though it could have been, perhaps should be more.
Yet to sink their teeth into the game in an attacking sense. Will Kay has been the busiest man on the field and called into action again. To Landry, Richmond's playmaker. Well, sliced on the return and into the hands of Mark Bright. Sat on 99 championship tries. That's one that you don't see too often from him. And up and under off the left boot, but he chases well and lassos the legs of the Ealing receiver. Good carry and tackle. Max Northcote Green to Willis. Shirks off the first challenge. Bright tries to effect the rip. Willis looking for that inside ball to Smid, who was lurking. DeWee. Boot to ball and back to Kay. Kay happy to kick and chase. Long passage of play now that the ball's been on the field. Green and white hoop jerseys queuing up far on the left-hand side, but they carry short through Northcote Green. Again onto the toe. It's taken an awkward ricochet. Eventually harmlessly to touch.
It's a clear tactic. You can see Ealing just wanted to try and probe in that top left-hand corner. If we looked at a heat map of this game, it would be red hot down in Richmond's own 22 and ice cold in the opposing 22. Not one feature of play in Ealing's own quarter. And it's from these little probing kicks we've seen the wide expansive ones. Willis just trying to get in behind them. And again, it belongs to Ealing now. Possession some 25 metres away from the Richmond line.
South African to South African, Camphor to Smid. The formula works in the lineup. Beautiful move brings Bodilli into play. Oh, Bobby DeVee charging through, cut down. But a knock on at the crucial time. I thought DeVee had wriggled free. Dynamic play from Ealing.
That little pop ball from DeVee not quite been able to be held, but it's in and around this breakdown. That's where Ealing are looking really dangerous. If there's half a gap either side of it, they recognise it, they're flying round. Again, it's that pace of tempo. We talk about it all the time in rugby. But the fast, slow nature of it, it creates so much pressure in defence. And it's those little tiny gaps either side of the breakdown that the Ealing forward pack are looking for.
Well, Richmond will be asked to exit from deep, deep within their half. All the back line in the dead ball area. Landry set up to the blind side of the scrum. They'll need to fish it out quickly because Ealing are on the march again. Referee Sarah Cox happy with play. But Richmond have brought it back across their own line, forced to dot it down under the pressure of the Ealing pack. And now, well, as scrum field position goes, Doesn't get much better than this, Rob Vickerman.
No, there'll be 8 very happy people at this decision from Sarah Cox. Craig Hampson, he'll be having conversations with the back line, knowing there is a chance of launching an attack. Bringing Luke Daniels round for that extra defender, with a chance to potentially swing back left, but this will be quite the prospect. Richmond need to dig deep, put their anchors down and hope that they don't fly backwards toward their line.
Well, Hampson himself is lightning quick, has dancing feet and can slice and dice a defence, and he does just that. Not a shred of Richmond defensive DNA on him. Hampson makes it 3, and Ealing in the groove.
Now Hampson, who cites himself as being one of the world's best touch players, showed exactly why there. His speed off the mark. We'll talk about the 8-man scrum needed for Richmond. As soon as they engage this much of a push, it's so hard for the blindside flankers. There's only back row to get away from that. Worthington not able to get out fast enough. Hampson with that extra step of pace, and he glides around, and now well and truly 2 feet, would you say, along the path toward victory.
Well, Craig Willis is yet to install his kicking radar today. 3 tries to Ealing Trailfinders, but none of them maximised thus far, so the score, Ealing 15, Richmond 0.
And on the premise of Cub Rugby vibe and how important it is to win this individual game, there'll be some questions perhaps coming in from Luke Daniels, the South African left winger, because he can kick well as well. These points are crucial.
Richmond come away with it through the hands of Will Carrick-Smith. But again, a fumble from Richmond gives possession straight back to Ealing. They cannot catch a break at the moment, Richmond.
It's almost like a barrier, some sort of force field at this 22 of Ealing that Richmond cannot quite break through. Fingertip stuff from the 12-foot long arm of Will Carrick-Smith, not quite able to keep hold of it. And the nature of this wind, as we've already seen, this could well mean that Ealing end up back inside the Richmond 22. It's blown a bit of a gale.
Richmond hold firm, but it's a fumble from the try scorer Hampson, which forces Ealing into sticking their head down and just going hard through Howard. Play flashes right. Ealing happy to throw it around on the outskirts of their 22. Smid. Hampson shapes to kick. Not too much pressure, and that is going to hang high in this swirling wind. Expertly taken by Will Kay, who's immediately put on his backside by 2 Ealing hitters. The chase is hungry from the home side at the moment on these kick chases. Worthington sticks his head down. Good carry of the ball. 2 tries against Ealing at the Athletic Ground before Bright shows his sleight of hand. Caddy flying down the flank. Slung back inside, but Ealing come away with it. And Broken Field will delight these runners. Badilli, a hop and a skip, and looking for Daniels, who's searing down the left wing, inside, back to Badilli. Glorious from the Ealing Trailfinders.
And in the last 60 seconds, you can see why so many people love this league. Wonderful skills from Richmond on the left, brilliant offload. One error it was from Caddy. Turned the ball over and then off Ealing went. Lovely work from Badilli, rightly so, celebrating his try because he curated it. He gets the ball early enough, squares up defenders, control, balance, pace, hits that outside arc with a bit of a goose step. Buys in a little bit of space, and then Daniels takes off. Great pace from the wingman, great link play from the outside centre. And Badilli, the ex-Exeter Chiefs, celebrated it.
Well, Craig Campson splits the uprights, and you can hear the roar of the stand of all the season ticket holders here. They know that's important for them. It's the bonus point. And that is Ealing to 22 points. Fantastic play. Pretty sure Badilli captain Exeter Chiefs in the Premiership Sevens a few times, just showing his recognition of where and how to strike when presented with open space. You have to say that everything that Ealing have done so far has by and large been right. Clean exits, asking questions of Richmond and Kay. Landry hops back, more good hands, go ball loose, just chips over the top, and he gets the backspin, and Richmond come away with it. Hadfield, first chance for Richmond to attack in the Ealing half with purpose. Go ball meets his match in Northcote Green, the birthday boy giving himself a present. But over exuberance to get into that breakdown, Vix.
It certainly was seeking him, wasn't he? Northcote Green with a big old shot, and you can't find yourself diving on the ball. And we get to see the very first inroad into Ealing 22 for Richmond. Lackadaisically walk into the line out the forwards, but there will be a plan at place here.
They've had a very, very fruitious driving maul this season, Richmond. James Hadfield, the hooker, with 7 tries to his name. He'll be the man in pole position at the back in the armchair. Carrick Smith does so well to scoop it. The lift wasn't quite precise, but Richmond have some momentum. They crab left, but they eke forward like a red, black and old gold motorcade, with a man at the back in the presidential position, and he flops down. And if we can see that number, that is Mark Bright. And Mark Bright has just scored his 100th championship try.
And there's a celeb from perhaps the most understated championship stalwart, celebrated wherever he plays the game. Some trees around this ground are not as old as this man, but he is a phenomenal rugby player.
That is what peak performance at the age of 43 looks like, ladies and gentlemen. That's Jimmy Litchfield just talking to the referee, but here it is. It was well coordinated, and Ealing, they poured their numbers in, but they didn't have a match for that Richmond driving maul. And Mark Bright, 201 championship appearances, 100 tries, and Landry looking to add the extras. That one slides off the boot from Ted Landry, but Richmond are on the board. They've got a try in their back pocket and something to sing about going into the final 10 minutes of this half.
They certainly needed it, didn't they? First inroad to the quarter, and they got their points from it, and that will give them a big dose of hope.
Well, a skyscraper of a kick is plucked out of the skies by the giant Will Carrick Smith. Very, very difficult take under pressure, but he does, and Jared Cardew goes bursting through the challenges. Great energy as Watson feeds swiftly. Landry puts some air on it to Caddy. Caddy looking to slip the ball out to Kay, who's in support. Well, another penalty for Richmond, another chance to drive a little bit deeper into Ealing territory. An area of this ground that they haven't spent too much time in.
No, many teams don't, such as the wind as well, really is swirling towards the Richmond territory, but I think that's acrobatically kept in initially, but then finds its way out. There's going to be...
Well, he's leapt from outside the field, knocked the ball back in, landed in field, but then it's trickled across the dead ball line.
Scrum 5.
Well, that's something you don't see every day.
And that has turned into a brilliant opportunity, albeit with one little asterisk next to it, that this Ealing scrum has been monumental in this game so far, and if ever they do need to turn up that dial, it will be in this shove.
Well, this is a chance for Richmond to just plant a little bit of uncertainty in the back of the Ealing minds. They've been in charge for the opening half hour of this match, but Richmond, as is their way, do not lie down. A carry from Ronnie McLean, fed out the back and then spilt, too complicated. And Richmond fluff their lines. Goebel pacing back. He's got time and he's also got Caddy with him, but chooses to go direct through the jerseys. A high shot comes in. Again, too much exuberance from the Ealing defenders.
Well, slightly shaking his head walking back, Simon Azukwe, but we've seen countless times in World Rugby at the moment, you need to be so careful with those tackles. A player on the way down, you've got to keep that shoulder away from their head. And again, penalties giving a little bit more dose of hopes to Richmond. You do feel it's going to come from anything. It'll be from this line out, get your drive set and then let the backs go, but that last attack they had just gave the ball away too easily. Ted Landry took it to the line, didn't look composed, and that coughed up that chance to explore Ealing's 22 a little bit more.
Richmond go to the tail, brilliant throw and take, and Richmond are off in the midfield, carrying through Worthington. He transfers the ball despite being buffeted back, and Craig Duncan with a physical carry. More slick handling from Richmond, throws up the chance for Hadfield to get smashed. McLean to Duncan. Richmond with a bit of rhythm. Jimmy Litchfield, the half centurion. Landry picks a pass to Kay out the back, who doesn't have too much support outside him. Richmond looking comfortable in possession, and they're manipulating the Ealing defence around nicely. Cardew, some footwork. Most concerted period of attacking pressure from Richmond at the moment, but the Ealing tackles still rein in. The pass asks a lot of Bright, but he has answers for it. Hadfield does well to get that second wind. Slowed up by Ealing and DeVee. Big frame on the floor. Oh, goodness me. Henry Williams gets his skeleton rearranged in the midfield, and from the big hit, the next carry from Richmond gives Ealing a penalty.
Well, it was certainly expansive, hitting the widths a couple of times from Richmond, but they didn't particularly go that far forward. A resolute defence meeting them, and a couple of big collisions again. These midfield hits, because Ealing are spread nice and wide, Richmond have lost that width. They're getting lined up, and they're getting rearranged.
Well, despite the lack of penetration in the attack, Richmond can surely take heart from the way they strung those phases together. And yes, they got smashed back on occasion, but they seem to have the composure to offload, put their heads up, and then look left and right and try and seek fresh space.
And it will be that little half chance that gets them in behind, that chance offload perhaps out the back or off the floor that they're really willing to throw. But because the Ealing defensive line is so well set and they're not competing at the breakdown, they're just men on feet and they're waiting for these hits. is more likely in this situation an error comes, such as the heat coming through from the defensive line.
Well, Hampson helps himself to a touch finder. Closing moments of this first half. Ealing with a bonus point for their 4 tries already. It'll be Richmond who'll be desperate to keep it to just 4. Zokwe, the double try scorer, to Willis, another man who's crossed the paint. Good rip in the tackle from Jared Cardew initially, and then it went back to the floor. You can't play it down there. Pat Howard. Good defence from Richmond.
How good's Cardew been? Both sides of the ball. Real animal when he's running with it. Like the fact he goes through the collisions, gets those extra metres, but that's 101 open side play. Scratting the ball, slowing it down. If you leave the pitch thinking your opposing open side was a pain, they've had a good game. And he's very much one of them.
Only 22 years old as well, Cardew. Real prospect for the future. In fact, 2 of him, their age would equal only 1 year older than Mark Bright. A 22-year-old at 7, a 43-year-old at 8. What's not to love?
It can happen. I remember Paul Tupoi when he was playing at Bedford. I think he had 2 testimonials at one point. He'd have been 48 when he finished playing.
I'm pretty sure Aleki Latui is still playing for Ampthill at the age of 43 in the front row. Bright gets fingertips to it, but it's too high for him to take in. Zokwe puts some air on it, and Bodili, the playmaker at 13, goosies his way up beyond the halfway. A shot of light down the blind side, but wrapped up by Richmond. Attentive work, and they're happy to go quickly in the hands of Landry. Kay on the ball, looks up and pumps it for Ealing to turn back on themselves and chase. Awkward bounce, nearly popped into the cradle of the Richmond runner, but as it is, that's out the back door, and there is a big man rampaging his way into the Richmond 22. He wants support, it isn't there, it finally arrives. An Ealing sniff a 5th, Zokwe on a hat-trick. 2 men required to fell the big man in the number 7 jersey, Rain Smits. Disruption coming in from Richmond, but Ealing still with the possession. Point blank range, the ball spills out, it's gleefully picked up, and Smid, as he always does, gets his try.
Well, can we just take a moment now to reflect on that break initially from George Davis? Very rarely, when props do break the line, do you see them getting further away from the defensive support, but he was flying. The tight head for Ealing was running away from his support. Here he goes.
Well, no one could keep up with him, Vix.
Callum Watson chasing him down, not getting all that close. I think he's going to get that clip shown to him a fair bit, but take nothing away from Davis. That was fantastic. And that meant territory was in the hand of the Trailfinders, and then it's the stars on show. Rain Smith, one of these big players, he's always in the right place at the right time.
Well, we've quite rightly lauded Ealing's power up front, but their transition play has been ruthless, Vix.
And that's a sign of a good team. Willis finds his line with a swerving kick round, but as you mentioned, this transitional play to go from defence to attack with such intent, that's why Ealing are dangerous.
Well, that kick is the icing on top of a first cake half that the Ealing Trailfinders fans are happy to wolf down at this half-time break. Ealing Trailfinders leading Richmond 29 points to 5. But I think you can hear the wind blowing through our microphones. It's really got up there, which makes that conversion all the more impressive from Craig Willis. He has toiled from the tee, but that man there in the 7 jersey sauntering off, followed by his captain in A. They've been responsible for 3 of the tries, and the first one was from Simon Uzokwe, and they got the ball rolling early here.
Very much a recipe for their gameplay, as we saw from a dominant line-out, formidable scrum and set-piece game. Ealing getting that ascendancy, then capitalising on it. See fragmented Richmond defence. Fist pump from Hampson. He knows how important these forwards are for this game, and it was a pattern that continued for their second effort as well. Uzokwe getting 2.5. That's when you want your back row to step up alongside Rain Smith, who's got another one. That bonus point celebrated early, but this win could well account for a couple of scores for Richmond.
So that was Uzokwe's early try, and he was in and at it again from a line out, this time from the other side of the field. It was a clever transfer. See the double fist pump from Bobby DeVee. The Ealing pack pumped up in the opening 10 minutes and being rewarded with 2 tries for their open side flanker. The line out has been a little hit and miss for both sides, but one thing is for sure, Simon Uzokwe knows where the line is. He actually had failed to score against Richmond this season, one of only 3 teams that he hadn't scored against. But this time he had 2, and well, this you could see coming from a mile off. A big blind side, a greedy number 9, and the fast feet to convert. Richmond stretched, the dummy bought hook, line and sinker by Callum Watson, and a stroll in eventually for the Ealing number 9. That was try number 3, but this was the pick of the bunch.
Badilli's little goose step gets on the outside. This little bit of deception just holds Goebel's line, and then the man who created it stayed on the inside. Great support, and I'm really enjoying how Ealing are taking this game on.
Well, there's the transition play. It was initially great intent from Richmond down the left-hand flank, but a rogue one-handed offload from Jake Caddy. And this 4G pitch, when the ball goes loose, it does seem to habitually pop up right into the breadbasket. And more often than not, it's into the breadbasket of a player wearing green and white hoops. But there was plenty of work that needed to be done, and Badilli was the architect. But Richmond, they got themselves back into the game through their driving more.
With their first inroad to Ealing quarter, and then they got their own rumble going. Good set, good formation, and the men only train on Tuesday, Thursday evenings to do enough in those sessions to compete against this professional outfit.
Well, the Richmond driving maul has been highly functioning all season, and that is a major factor in the sheer weight of tries that Mark Bright has scored this season. That was number 17 for the campaign, but more significantly, number 100 in a famous championship career.
And that's my clip of the day. You're going to have to go some to beat that. Not only a tight prop finding themselves in space, but actually enjoying being in space, getting away from the defence. And it teed up again. The Ealing back row to take control of the situation. Rain Smith just finds himself following this round, gets the fortuitous bounce, and over he gets just before half time.
Well, Richmond were well resourced, they were organised, but as you said, that ball just squirming from the initial tackle almost had the effect of the deadly bounce pass, the most undefendable ball in rugby. Just that unpredictable ball squirting out. Rain Smith quickest to respond, and that is why Ealing Trailfinders lead Richmond 29 points to 5. at the half-time break.
The champ's given me the opportunity to play with some really great players and play at some really great clubs. There's a lot of players and coaches and staff come through there and go on to higher honours. For me personally, I've thoroughly enjoyed playing in this league. It's fast, it's physical, and it gets harder year on year. And I think it's made me a better player and probably a better person as well. I had 2 spells at London Scottish. The first one was 2011 to 2016, where I played 123 games for the club. We did pretty well on that sort of time. We went from semi-professional to professional in the first 12 to 18 months, which was good. Really good coaching group, good management, medical team, really good playing group, and I think that come to the fore in the 2014-15 season, where we made the semi-finals and played home and away against a very good Worcester side that eventually ran out and won the champ and got promotion that year. The 5 years I spent at Scottish in that first stint was very enjoyable, very similar to the club that I played for back in New Zealand. I've got lifelong friends that I made at London Scottish. You know, it does mean a lot to me and my family. My kids, two of my sons are still playing for London Scottish at the moment, so I'm down there most Sundays helping or watching them play. Yeah, moving to Ealing was a big call, to be fair. You know, I've been at Scottish for 5 years. I was comfortable. I was playing a lot. You know, going to another club, would I fit in? All these things were running through my mind. But in the end, Ben Ward and Ealing came in, made an offer to my agent, so we decided to head over to Ealing, which was you know, a very enjoyable 2 years, a very ambitious club. Got me out of my comfort zone, pushed really hard. We went from 11th up to 2nd in the champ by the time I'd finished, and we won a BNI Cup. So yeah, it was a pretty successful 2 years. Really good teammates as well, made me feel welcome and fitted in easily. Obviously 2 years there and then back to Scottish for 2 or 3 before COVID hit. Yeah, signing for Richmond come about pretty much after I've been sitting idle for 15 odd months due to COVID. Obviously I was at Scottish and we trained but didn't play in that COVID season, and so like I said, I had 15 months off and wanted to get back. So sat down, had a meeting with Hilly and liked what I heard, and I just wanted to get back and play some rugby, and very appreciative that they were keen to get me on board at 42 or 43 when I signed there. You know, and I've loved every minute of it so far. I was a bit hesitant on how I'd fit in coming from Scottish, but the boys have been really good about it. You know, fitted in really well, made me feel really welcome. You know, there's still a couple of games left to go, but looking forward to finishing the season off strong. I mean, work-wise outside of rugby, I've do a little bit of coaching here and there at my wife's school. Sometimes help out coaching with my boys on Sunday, and a bit of labouring. That's what I'm doing at the moment. You know, it keeps you fit, keeps you moving, so it's all good. Yeah, obviously there's been a few people, a lot of people that have supported me along the way. Obviously my mum and dad, as my agent, Johnny Jabinda Charles. Lastly but not least is my wife, Angela, who's had to put up with me playing rugby. I think she thinks I probably would have been finished playing rugby by now, but you know, a big thank you goes out to her for putting up with me and letting me play the game that I love.
Do you think that we'll see the likes of Mark Bright in the Championship again? 201 appearances, 100 tries, extraordinary.
no as a quick answer to that. I mean, how he is functioning at 43, I don't quite know, yet alone playing as well as he does and grafting throughout the week, labouring. I mean, the man, he personifies Kiwi, doesn't he? Just hard as nails.
Well, talismanic for London Scottish, and he's played a big part in the journey here at Ealing Trailfinders, and now a huge role for Richmond. And what a scoreline coming from the Mene. Cornish Pirates 28, Ampthill 28. Ampthill trailing by a fair few points at the half time. They've resurrected themselves in the second, and that is a fantastic result.
21-0 half time, I think they were up. That is one hell of a comeback. Ampthill getting stuck in, might well change the permutations for where Richmond could well finish should they have a miraculous second half. And that would be some ask.
Well, with that draw, just by my crude calculations, that puts Ampthill to 45 points, up with Coventry, but I think that they stay below because they've got less wins. So Richmond, they need to turn this second half around. That's as we stand, I believe, that table. They need to turn things around in this second half if they are to get up to those dizzy heights of 6th spot. What do they need to do?
Well, have a little bit of possession and a little bit of territory. It wouldn't go amiss, albeit these teams do like to play from anywhere. The first half we have seen them really absorb a lot of punches from Ealing. Richmond only once really getting into that final quarter of this pitch, and they did so well when they finally got there.
Well, a testament to this Richmond side is that across the season they've only lost by a margin of over 20 points just once. In fact, they've been within a margin of 7 or under on 5 occasions. So it's been a miserly defence, and if you look at the first half, Ealing had so much possession, they played so clinically, and yes, it's 29 points to 5, but were Richmond to have converted the scrum opportunity they had on the 5 metre line, which ultimately they didn't, Ealing went down the other end, scored a converted try, and it's 29-5. It could have been very easily 22-12 had Richmond been a bit more clinical.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. But Ealing will know full well they'll be in that half-time changing room talking about the plan that they've executed, what's going to change. They're going to be going against the wind in the second half, which, as we saw in the first, is going to be significant. But they'll know they cannot rest on any laurels. They'll know Richmond will want to play and can play from anywhere across the pitch. But they will take solace in the fact that they have got a comfortable lead. You would have to go some to succumb a 24-point lead. And they've got to be clear and understanding collectively about what it is they're going to do.
Well, let's talk about that psychology, Vix, because Ealing, you can't tell me that they don't have one eye or one portion of their mind is now on that trophy. They'll have talked all week about not talking about the trophy and take it one game at a time, but as they come out to all of the lights, looking to put in a blinding display in this second half, how can they keep their mind away from the riches at the end of this half, potentially?
Well, it comes down to what I said at the start of the programme. It's about not trying to play to lose, continuing to try and win the game. So often you see massive leads change the psychology of players because they then freeze a bit, whereas the reason why they got 29 points on the board is because they have been playing. Really hope that remains in the second half. But as I say, factors environmental, this wind is picking up and some.
Well, Richmond only need to take one look at what happened at the Mene earlier today. Ampthill trailing by a few, fighting back to draw 28 apiece. That would be good enough for Ealing with the bonus point that they've secured from the 5 tries in the first half. Plenty of rugby left in this, but Richmond need a fast start. That fast start will have to come from their 22. That's where they're shackled at the moment from some good tackling after that kickoff. Watson will box, and there are 3 eager Trailfinders in the backfield. This wind really has picked up and it's right behind Richmond.
Well, that ball travelled about 65 metres, however, it went out about 6 metres further from where Watson kicked it. So now it is what looks like Ealing possession, in a great position to be at, but the wind again will make amends to this lineup. They've got to be so accurate with these longer throws.
Well, that is a fabulous throw from Camphor, and Ealing launch. Beautiful energy and pace into the line. Big hit coming on in from Ronnie McLean, who's Zokwe finding Badili. Another good tackle coming in. Richmond scrambling, and they can't roll away in time. Well, Henry Williams slow to haul himself up off the floor after a crunching low tackle. And Ealing have popped the ball in their playground, haven't they?
They have done. I'm a bit surprised by that, mentioning how windy it is. Every single time they've had an attacking scrum, they've scored from it, but still wanted to go with a line-out.
Well, they secure it neatly at the back. Is Bobby DeVee. He transfers it to Simon Azokwe, hunting that hat-trick. George Davis, who had the barnstorming run in the first half. Well, he knocks on, but a high tackle advantage was already being played.
Continuing the knife twist. Ealing kicking again for the corner. Some questions coming in to Sarah Cox from the Richmond forwards about when the ball is technically out the back of the maul, but it's certainly somewhere that Azokwe's find himself.
Well, you see Cannon throw his head back. So frustrating for Ealing to not hit their mark on that throw.
Oh, and it is frustrating. As I mentioned, every time they've had an attacking scrum, they've scored from it, yet they're persisting with a line-out in what's very formidable conditions. That's a real let-off for Richmond, but they do need a little bit of luck.
The Richmond scrum secure and Bright off the base and feeding McLean, who puts boot to ball, trying to harness this mini hurricane that's blowing right to left here in Ealing. And it's a good chase as well from Bright. Richmond's line speed, a little bit sluggish, gives DeVee a chance to run over the first man. So many Ealing players amassed on this right 15-metre channel. Litchfield is down injured in the middle of the field.
Shut off. Give me a little bit more chat. You're not supporting your body weight. Look, I can only go with what I see. I've not seen anything. I've not seen foul play unless anyone else has.
Well, Mark Bright politely asking the question and Sarah Cox politely batting it back.
Yeah, and I know exactly what she's talking about, because it was a clear on Litchfield. He ended up with a bit of a stinger, which is why he's getting a bit of treatment, but it was a significant contact. Didn't look like it was a particularly rapt effort. It's a bit of a free shot, but you find yourself in and around that breakdown area, exposed. And unfortunately for the man who led the team out, Litchfield,
are you taking
is absolutely warm one on his left shoulder.
Okay. Like, I can only go with what I see.
Well, a sad end to a momentous occasion for an individual who's given a lot to Richmond over these years. His 50th appearance ends prematurely, but it heralds the arrival of Tinga Mapiko, one of the new recruits coming in to Richmond. A recommendation from a former Richmond and Ealing prop, in fact, Craig Trenier, who's now plying his trade for Harlequins. He's been on the championship journey, and he's brought his mate Tinga Mapiko over from Lansdowne in Ireland. His first involvement is to be in a line out that malfunctions for Ealing, and Richmond come away with it. But a fumble, putting themselves under pressure with some errant passing, means that Ealing have a prime attacking set piece to launch from.
Well, I'm excited the fact it might well give reference to the 25 times I've said why they're taking scrums over lineouts. Because yet again, a faltering lineout meant they lost their chance to attack initially, but this could well be beneficial for them. Ealing scrum, pretty impressive.
Well, Richmond have looked more solid, but centre field, big blind side to work with. Willis and Johnston stacked behind each other. They shift right. A no-look pass to Badilli. That is lovely from Ealing. It was the eyes that did the Richmond defence, and Badilli that did the rest.
Attacking scrums proving fruitful once again for Ealing, and any try looks better when you got a no-looking pass in it. And Hampson, the master of them, gets the ball from Smid. He's done about 3 people with that. That's fantastic. Badilli hits the line nice and flat with pace. It's almost the perfect
Here we go.
execution.
This is the view.
It's that fast, you can't quite make it out. That was impressive.
That fast it even did our cameraman. Brilliant bit of play from the beating heart of this Ealing Trailfinders backline, Craig Hampson. And the other Craig, Willis, smashes it through the uprights. And Ealing take another large stride on that path to the title. There's the no-look in all its glory. And all Badilli had to do was hold his line, run hard, catch, and career across the paint. Changes have come on for Ealing. Silent Sell in the number 19 jersey is on, the former Gloucester man. And I'd love to tell you which other replacements are getting ready to come on, but I think they are all running around as much as possible because it is freezing here. An icy wind and the heavens opening are making the conditions a little less favourable for the fingertips when it comes to running rugby. But it doesn't seem to be hindering this man, Craig Hampson, at the moment, readying for the put-in. A pick from Smith, who targets the 10 channel, but it's Watson who gets the shot in. Bit of ping ball off various hands. But Kay, as he has done so frequently today, collects, but he's ragdolled by Bobby DeVee, who shows great chase. Huge engine on a huge man. Pico to Landry. Bit of width available for Richmond. Badilli affects the tackle just at the right time. A juggle from Bright. Richmond playing by their wits. High tackle coming in from Linsell. And just Richmond having to scrap for absolutely everything, Vix.
They are indeed, but how about that pick up from Mark Bright? Talk about him being 43, part bionic. Scoops the ball up off the floor. A little moments like that. It does feel as though you're right. You say that Richmond working hard, as they have done all game. They've had to really try and graft for these little chances because the defensive hits that are coming in are so forceful from Ealing. They're so comfortable and set. Richmond still throwing punches, just looking for that knockout shot.
Bobby DeVee, a real nuisance in everything about this line out, closing the gap and then flying through to swallow up Callum Watson. Richmond come away and Bright shows those soft hands again. Cardew, a little less prevalent so far in this second half, but he fights for the metres. McLean, he gives us a shot at his no-look trick. Cardew battered down by Pat Howard.
The same patterns coming in. The Ealing team well and truly setting traps, waiting for these Richmond runners and just burying them. It's oppressive defence from the men in white and green.
Well, that's the last we'll see of a man who's really impressed for Richmond today. Jared Cardew departing the fray, and it heralds the arrival of Ethan Benson. And Vix, Cardew's been a shining light.
He has been real grafter of the game. Found himself the man trying to take it on, take those shots, keep that ball alive, just trying to create something in defence. He's been challenged, but he stepped up to that. Just feel as though at the moment Richmond need another spark to really give themselves something to get into in this game. This midfield territory hasn't been favourable for them.
Bright picks and feeds Watson. An old school 8-9 and a loop round. Ronnie McLean, go ball moving at pace. Richmond flying forward. No looks are all the rage now. Watson in on the act. Landry to Hadfield, who bounces two, takes another two to bring him down. Bright a little bit isolated and he has to force an offload. Watson pirouetting. Carrick Smith. Richmond targeting the fringes now. Penalty advantage, they still seek the seams. Another Burrow. Uzokwe's in there, ripping. But it was penalty advantage. What do Richmond do here?
Well, no, Richmond, they're probably going to tap it and wang it. They've not got much hope of a scrum if they do indeed try and look for that. Put it on the floor and have a tap.
Well, you're going to disagree with this, Vix, but this is going into the corner.
No, that's not a bad shout. I'd say scrum would have been a terrible decision. Tap and go, would like to have seen that. Tends to be Mark Bright, sparks things in and around contacts. But as you've said throughout, their driving line out is a real weapon of theirs, so why not play to your strengths?
Huge weapon. Ian Kench and Nick Rouse have been fostering a try-scoring mentality for their eight when it comes to the catch and drive this season, and it's borne fruit. The forwards, the front rows are going to get a break for Ealing. Replacements coming on. We'll tell you who in a moment, because first, Richmond are building a wedge. And look at that wrestle with Linsell being a real pest in there. Forces Richmond to go to their backs. Caddy latched upon on the floor. 2 Ealing jerseys. You can credit that to either Zokwe or Northcote Green, hunting in packs. And penalty to Ealing.
It's seemingly an area fringing on a point of difference is how impressive the back row is for Ealing. I mentioned about Cardew, how well he went when he was on in the first 50 minutes, but Northcote Green, Zokwe and Smid, as they always do for Ealing, just gluing this team together.
Well, Johnny Harris leaves the field and he's replaced by 21-year-old Luke Spring. A real hot prospect. Played third team at Richmond this season. And such is the Richmond way. Something they're very proud of is elevating players through the system. There have been players who've come from the 5th team through the 4th, 3rd, 2nds and then ended up playing championship rugby before. Luke Spring, the number 18, on for Richmond, and a fresh set of front rows as well. Harry Seward in 18 making his first team debut, about to put the lift in on Linsell. And Uzokwe, it takes 2 to bring him down. He's so powerful in the contact, but driven back purposefully by the fresh replacements. There's a new playmaker on for Ealing in the form of the immensely talented Stephen Shingler. And from this scrum, we might get to see him pull a few aesthetically pleasing strings.
He'll be a name known to many. Talk of the town a few years ago, Steve Shingler. And what a proposition to come on now, given 35 minutes of potentially championship winning rugby with a forward pack who are flying in the right direction.
Well, Callum Watson has departed and Alex Crocker, the former Nottingham player, is on for his Richmond debut. Sustained a major hamstring injury at the beginning of the season, so he's fought really hard. He's been doing those dark hours in the rehab room, in the gym. He finally gets his first team Richmond appearance. Much work to do. And his first job is trying to pick the pocket of Craig Hampson, who has been quite sublime at half-back today for Ealing. Well, there's a big bullocking carry from Pat Howard. Haven't seen him do too much of that. Offside of the back feet from Richmond. The eagerness to get their hands on Angus Kernahan. And Shingler chews off a big chunk of touchline.
That's impressive, isn't it? Little things, but they make a big difference. Getting right into that corner. Just some 6 metres for the forwards to try and get some traction over the line. And you think, for all money, having seen what we did in the first half, they're getting over.
Hugh Worthington, the man that play's been paused for briefly. Ealing not troubled the scoreboard for a while, but a good opportunity as they go to the tail. They pop it to a rampaging Azokwe. who makes it a hat-trick on Ealing's big day.
And he does so in typical Ozokwe fashion, barricading through the defensive line. He is a bull of a rugby player. Set for him perfectly. What a line out it was. Tail gunner right at the back. Some 25-metre throw needed to hit the space. Splits the forward defence, flies round, and that is some way to get a hat-trick in this massive game.
Well, Steve Shingler's not hanging around. He adds 2 points to his season total, takes himself up to 90. And Ealing and their supporters, I think it's safe to say, can begin to start taking the wire off the champagne.
Yeah, you mentioned about psychology earlier, Burns. This is when you start to really enjoy it, because you know you've done enough in that first 60 minutes to open up this last 20 minutes, and they'll do so going back to what Ealing have done so well. Massive shots coming in, transitional play. Richmond, conversely, still nothing to lose. They're going to give it a good go.
McLean feeds the new man onto the field. Monty Bradbury, the young London Irish Academy man, making his Richmond first team debut. Lots of fresh faces, lots of fresh energy on the field now. Players looking to make their mark. Landry, bit of indecision, and it's punished by the Ealing tacklers. Mapiko, Bright, just massaging the defence with some ball skills. His England Sevens days featuring there. A late hit off the ball. No arms.
That's a couple of ticks in the old yellow card box, I would have said.
Yeah. But just the penalty.
Look at that. I think that was clearly a situation, just in Sarah Cox talked to the players now, where it was reckless, it wasn't needed. The Ealing defence, yes, they're shouting smash and have been smashing, but you don't need to come up the line to do so.
And Callum Torpey, who's come on for Richmond in the 16 jersey, misses his man on his first throw. And Ealing happy to fizz the ball around a bit, but a bit too much fizz on that one. Just burning the fingertips. And a scrum to Richmond.
Yeah, Badilli wanted to throw it, shaped it nicely, but Daniels just couldn't quite hold it. It's a shame, because when he gets going, he's lightning.
Well, we saw a glimpse of it as he came down that left touchline in the first half try that led to Badilli's first. But other than that, he's been living off scraps a little bit as the left winger.
Goebel's standing proud here, isn't he? Looking like he wants it.
He is a big, big frame to be bringing in off this blindside wing, but he won't get the chance because a pumped up Ealing front eight have driven through the Richmond pack again. Pats on the back all round. That's Harry Seward making his first team debut. Recalled from his loan period at Ampthill specifically for this game. And making a positive impact and providing Stephen Shingler with penalties to pump miles up the field.
It's been some weapon, hasn't it, their scrum, both in attacking set plays, getting them into it, but also just getting them out of danger from their own stanza. This is a pretty impressive display up front from Ealing, and it has been complemented.
Well, Sam Collingridge has come on in the 19 jersey for Will Carrick-Smith, and talking to Richmond head coach Rob Powell about him in the week, I said, what does Collingridge offer? He said, he whacks people. So, expect some physicality coming in from the former London Irish Academy man. No advantage. Another scrum, which Richmond may not be licking their lips at after the last one.
Replacement front row now on for Richmond. And hopefully they've got a good old handbrake in their system as well.
Better from Richmond this time, and they do get it to go ball to Bradbury. Spots some green pasture, an awkward bounce. And David Johnston on the spin. Well, Monty Bradbury, wearing 22, who just put that tricky kick in. He only trained for the first time with Richmond on Thursday. I'd say that I know more about him than some of his teammates. Such is the strain on Richmond's squad at the moment through injury, bit of COVID. But he's a young talent, people are excited about him. And he's shown himself to be confident even in these early moments of his Richmond career. A high shot. And mercifully, Rob Vickerman, the clouds have parted, the wind's died down, and the sun is once again shining. And I think that my body temperature may have just risen back above zero.
Well, pulses were certainly going at this point. Budilli showing his class again with that outside break. He'll be so careful with his high shots. Another one from Richmond. Sarah Cox saw that one, potentially yellow card territory once again. But looked over. The sun out, because I think there might be something happening at the end of this game.
Well, a pin-perfect kick into the corner. Means that Richmond get a chance to repel that Ealing drive. Fabulous work from the Richmond pack. There are only 3 Ealing players outside of that breakdown, and they're all within the 15-metre channel at the moment. It's going to be tight from the hoop jerseys of the Ealing Trailfinders. Players pouring round that corner, offering options for the wily Hampson to feed. Oh, a tip with one hand, and then the hands are free to get the killer pass round the back. And the man you mentioned moments ago, Luke Daniels, gets across to make it a try at the athletic ground, and now a try at home on what looks to be Ealing's coronation day.
Well, certainly so. Still these tries raining on down the Trailfinders Sports Park and it's perhaps slightly fortuitous. Rainsmith looking for that ball in behind, gets one hand to it to pass it on, but players were lining up out there. You could see the play building, draw them in tight, play with that expanse, out the back with the secondary line, and as sometimes can happen, luck goes your way. But this has been continuation of what we saw in the first half from Ealing in this second. Dominant in pretty much every single aspect of play.
No conversion to add to the Luke Daniels try. And Ealing remain on the doorstep of 50 points as plenty of fresh personnel come onto the field. Craig Hampson's work's done, Jordan Burns replaces him, and a distinctively lidded Ruben Bird Tulloch takes to the field. Very classy operator, wearing 23. Few for Richmond as well. Owen James coming on, wearing 23. The bench is pretty much emptied for the last frolic of the season for both clubs.
Great line from Sarah Cox there, just wanting things to crack on. Southwest accent shining through. She has marshalled this game brilliantly, as ever. I do feel as though it would be in rightful celebration if Ealing did perhaps pull out a couple of glimpses of magic in these last 8 minutes of this game and give this crowd a little bit more to cheer.
Jordan Burns injects his trademark pace with a travel from the base, but Bird Tulloch dragged down beyond the 10. Well, there's having options and there's having too many options. Gets a little congested in the attacking channels. Crossing, accidental offside, the works. Ealing give up possession.
You can see that launch. They want to still play with that intent mentioned about fitness in this first half. It has slowed down a bit, this middle third of the game. Didn't quite continue at the pace that we started. And you mentioned bench is now emptied. This is the last chance for some people in the championship to be playing. Still the cup to contest, but they'll know this is where people will be watching.
And the last chance for some players to play in the jersey of their clubs. The last time we'll be seeing Ronnie McLean, who's deep in that breakdown, playing in any jersey, retiring at the end of this match, announced it to the squad. And there's a bit of symmetry to him playing his final game here. He was a big part of the Ealing journey in its early days in National 1. 97 times he played for Ealing. In fact, his solitary USA jersey is on display in the clubhouse here. But there could be a try to display for Jordan Burns to add to his many across the season. He gets dragged down, but he's got the skills to find Angus Kernahan, who gobbles up the offload, coasts across, and is mobbed by his teammates who know they will be lifting a trophy very, very soon.
And that's the injection of energy from the replacements. Burns has done everything positive. Bird Tulloch in support as well. And then a man who's had to bide his time somewhat when you look at a team having scored 9 tries. Kernan hasn't had much pill. 75 minutes into it. He finally gets one.
The extras duly added on this occasion. Ealing Trailfinders 55, Richmond 5. A champion stamp on the scoreline now. And for all Richmond's toil, they've been outclassed by Ealing on this occasion. Ealing flew out the traps with so much purpose early in this match, and it's been unrelenting, Vix.
That totally has, and it's come through many different areas. Each one of them has been a real strength. Largely numbers 1 to 8 that have since been replaced, started it well, and it's just been continual. Few errors, impressive displays all round.
Well, a bit of escapology from Jordan Burns in the midfield. And he'll do it again, or he'll try again, but he's picked up and wrestled to the floor unceremoniously. Bobby DeVee, Ruben Bird-Tulloch showing his feet, showing his strength. Good jackal attempt from Spring, but he gets pulled off. Badilli into the hands of the man who last dotted down, and Angus Kernahan has 2 tries in almost as many minutes.
Well, speed of play there was quite sensational from Ealing. Every single time the ball was on the floor, players there in support to blast through the breakdown. And Richmond getting round, you can see the numbers are there, but they just can't stop these defenders. Mark Bright makes the haul eventually. There's the dominant clear, ball free, Rain Smith gets it wide. Badilli, who's been brilliant in many parts of his game as well individually, fires the last ball out wide, and Kernahan gets a brace.
Misses to the right on this occasion from a spot he kicked at previously. And Ealing Trailfinders are playing the kind of rugby that makes you not want the final whistle to come. But on this occasion, they will be desperate to hear the shrill blast of Sarah Cox's whistle, because they know what's coming at the end of it. They are minutes away from completing a project that started many, many years ago, and they are looking to complete it in some style as well. Burns flashes the ball left, and Goebel flies up, takes Smith down. Smith, the captain in his 6th season at Ealing Trailfinders. He's done so much on this journey. Shingler dancing back inside. Core of no arms. And the AR with his flag out ominously.
There's a conversation that could well have happened a little bit of time ago. Let's see if we can hear it.
Okay. So you've got
no control.
no control, okay?
Okay, no mitigating factors. It's at the top of the back and neck with the shoulder.
Okay, so let me just make sure I've got my facts straight as well from you. So Ealing number 4, coming from distance, has tucked the shoulder and clearly made contact with the head neck area of the Richmond player. So you're saying to me red card, yeah? Okay.
Well, it's going to be a sour note for Bobby DeVee to end on. His first ever
Right, fellas, just go relax
red
there.
card for dangerous
Okay.
and reckless play.
He's coming from distance with no control. He's tucked an arm and he's hit the head neck area of the Richmond player. It's a red card.
Ealing to finish with 14. Bobby DeVee dismissed for dangerous play. And Vic's few arguments.
No, I look bad. I think there's been a few in the game. So referee here not able to call upon 23 different camera angles to rock and roll to see where the contact was. But I think it's right. They're the type of things in the game that are dangerous. It's the reason why Jimmy Litchfield on his 50th game for Richmond is now on the sideline. You've got to be so careful flying in without that arm being wrapped.
Well, decisive assistant refereeing from Dan Jones sees Bobby DeVee depart the field. And Richmond looking to end this match, end this season with something to cheer about going into their pre-season, with eyes on the next championship campaign. Nearly every Richmond player absorbed in the maelstrom of that driving maul. A hint of a knock-on the pickup. Not called though by the officials, and Ealing have turned it over. Have they? No. Richmond still burrowing, still pressing. They've got the advantage. They'll flash it wide to the right. McLean out the back. Monty Bradbury just consumed by that rush defence from Bodilli, but they knew they had the advantage.
Do you kind of hope, whilst it is the men up front that are going to be deciding this for Richmond, if there might well be a short line for their stalwart player leaving, but sadly not.
Well, I think the Ealing thought that was the last player of the match. I think we can safely assume. Which means, as you were teeing up, it presents Richmond with the opportunity to maybe send Ronnie McLean-Dents on a trademark crash ball, hopefully to the try line to sign off his career in some style.
And if anyone can help him on that path, you think it would be Mark Bright, the evergreen Mark Bright. Some magic from the base. The only thing that stands in their way, which is significant, is Ealing's pack, who have been pushing aplenty. Just building the tension for us, I think.
Building the tension for a few scrum resets.
Got to feel any Doncaster supporters watching this might well have been a painful 80 minutes to have watched. Admirable efforts from them. I know the whole of Yorkshire's proud of their efforts. Think about the start of their season not quite going right, but this is very much about the green and white of Ealing.
The scrum stable and lurching forward for Richmond before men standing up and the ball falling into the hands of Jordan Burns. Bradbury asked to pop this one into the corner again. We're going to see one more Richmond drive maybe from this line out. Ealing desperate to repel their rivals from down the road. Their line has only been breached once, and that's a towering climb. Taken out in the air. James Hadfield says enough's enough. He taps and he goes and he burrows. Well, The penalties are just mounting up here. You'd think that a yellow card could be on the cards. Mark Bright wants to finish with 101 for this season. He won't do it that time. Richmond persist. Battering at this Ealing Trailfinders door. And finally they batter it down. And it is young Callum Torpey, the student from Oxford Brookes, 21 years old. He's got a try to end the season on. And it is a try against the champions, no less.
A long time coming. Richmond almost getting a tent out. They've been down here this long. But patience paid off. I don't think much will be taken away from Ealing's efforts. Nice to see Richmond get another one. But this has been a landslide.
Richmond end with a try, but there can be no doubt this is Ealing Trailfinders Day. This is Ealing Trailfinders season. An emphatic 60 points to 10 victory over their West London rivals means that this is not just a win. This is the coronation of Ealing Trailfinders as the champions of the championship. Well, great delights for these Ealing Trailfinders players. It has been one hell of a championship season. Each team played their part. Doncaster, well, the men from Castle Park and all their supporters, they'll have been watching with hope. But that hope really ruthlessly extinguished by Ealing from the word go in this match. It's been one hell of a fight. But it's Ealing Trailfinders who are going to finish on top. But what about Donny? 17 wins. They did the double over Ealing Trailfinders, including that fabulous win here that really lit up the title race. While those down in the southwest of the Cornish persuasion can hold their heads very high indeed. Some brilliant battles at the Mene, some brilliant battles on the road. And as we said here in commentary, making for one of the thrilling championship races. Donny did all they could. They got their 5 points last night. It was over to those boys in the green and white. And they really, really have responded. Richmond can take a lot from this season. One win in the abbreviated league last season when only 10 games were played. They showed signs of promise. And they have delivered. Be an uncomfortable scoreline to reflect upon today, but we must not forget the number of injuries, the number of absentees of key players to this Richmond side. And it was a Richmond side who very almost beat these champions at the Athletic Grounds.
Steve, can I just don't come to 600, can I get
But there's a reason that this team isn't just called Ealing Trailfinders anymore, and that they will be referred to as the champions. It's that kind of resolve. Eking out those narrow victories, coming back from disappointments like the loss to Bedford here, like the loss to Donny. And going to the well to dig out the results and the points that they needed. Ben Ward, the director of rugby, imparting his final words to bookend a season that he has yearned for. Takes more than just 23 on the path though, doesn't it? It's all the other squad members, the flourishing academy here, the backroom staff, the medical teams, and all the coaches who lend their skills in what has been a campaign of nearly 200 days. Rob Vickerman is down in the heat of the post-match emotions.
We got a jubilant director of rugby here. You had a wonderful moment there in the circle. What was it that was said?
Just incredibly proud of this group. It's not all been plain sailing this year, and this league is incredibly tough, but just again, it almost made it better having the pressure on us today to actually go and perform, and the boys delivered. And obviously for us now, with what happens in the future, just that's out of our hands, but we've given ourselves the best chance of being in the Premiership next year.
And you look around here and see these scenes and what's been a very long season. What are your emotions right now?
Looking forward to a rest, relief, incredibly proud. I've been at this club for 18 years, and the journey that we've had, that's what it's all about, having it open, that people can take this journey, and there's hope and belief that we can get to the top of the pile.
I want you to turn around and just see these jubilant scenes. 150 years Ealing have been going. First time they've took the championship title. You've got the crowd in behind. How happy is this moment for you?
Yeah, it's going to be, it'll take a while to sink in, but it's going to be an emotional night, it's going to be a happy night, it's going to be a long night as well, but no, it's so proud, I can't put it into words. Even some of the supporters that were watching us playing in an absolute terrible ground, for the owner came in when we were in London 3, and that journey up through the leagues, this is all for him and for these guys today.
Well, flying high, you go and get in the middle of that, Ben. Thanks for your time, mate.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, you heard it right there. This is the culmination of a journey that started many years ago, back in London 3. It was the vision of Mike Gooley. It was the direction of Ben Ward, a player turned director of rugby. And while this club have enjoyed some days in the sun, lifting various trophies, including that of the Championship Cup here years ago, none will feel sweeter than this. Ealing Trailfinders, the championship is theirs. Well, it's a day that Ben Ward probably thought may never come. It's been such a long journey. Remember, they've not been in the championship that long, and they found themselves bridesmaids on quite a few occasions as well. Second in the years that Saracens, Newcastle, London Irish and Bristol were promoted. But let's not forget their humble origins of finishing 11th only years ago, and now they're in song, they have the trophy. And there can be no doubt that this group of players are the finest in the championship. Well, they're the men that have got the job done. Simon Izokwe just exiting your screen on the left there. A hat-trick. I almost said in the final. This isn't the final, but the final day of the season. It certainly felt like that today. You know, that expectation of that this was their day of reckoning to lift the championship trophy. But many players will have come before them. Many players have worn the jersey and invested their energies into being part of the story to get them to this zenith. Silent Cell there. Came here from Gloucester. And Rob Vickerman is down, getting even more reaction.
Well, star of the show, hat-trick in potentially the biggest game of Ealing's history. Gives you a little bit of insight. How was that feeling afterwards?
Oh, it's amazing, mate. We worked so hard. Like, as a squad, got about 45, 50 boys. We worked really hard in the week. So for it to all come together with a win the league, unbelievable.
And to do it in that manner, 10 tries, 3 of them belongs to you. It's a bit of gold around the neck. It's been hard earned. But how has this season been in reflection?
Oh, amazing. I mean, we've gone through a bit, a few high and lows over Christmas. Had a pretty tough patch, but pulled together. Really close knit bunch. So it's unreal, mate. Honestly, amazing.
And just seeing all the images now, all the people celebrating, enjoying each other's company. What are the plans after this?
I think it's drink till Monday because see how long we can last, mate. Yeah, just drink, mate. Drink.
Awesome. Well, fantastic performance from you today. Really good to see you thriving, doing well. We're going to enjoy this moment.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much.
Drink. And why not? Vix and I ran into Simon Izokwe before the game, and he was a cool customer, I can tell you that. Spoke about whether he'd been watching Donny the night before, whether he had an eye on any other results. And he was single-minded in that destiny was in his and Ealing Trailfinders' hands. And all they had to do was worry about what they could and would do on the pitch, and boy, did they do it. 60 points clocked up in their final match of the season on their home ground on the day they take the crown, on the day they put that trophy in their cabinet. Memories are going to live long in the memory of all these players who've achieved this great feat, one that Ealing have been searching for many years. There's a wider picture around them being crowned the champions today. But for the time being, this is a day to savour. A day to celebrate. And this is how they did it in a rampaging fashion in that second half. Remember, going into that second half, leading 29 points to 5. And this was one of the finest pieces of play of the match. A no-look pass from the effervescent Craig Hampson, finding Max Badilli moving at pace. Badilli got 2 tries, but really it was all the other bits and bobs that he did around the park in attack. A wonderful attacking outlet, a distributor, a fixer of opposition defences, and that was the hat-trick by the human bowling ball, Simon Uzokwe, skittling Richmond defenders out of the way. Over for his 3rd try of the match. Of course, he was the man to get the ball rolling for Ealing, to get them on the board early and fill them with gusto. A gusto that they took with them throughout the remainder of the game. That was Luke Daniels. He'd been kept quiet on his left, so popped up on the right to finish. A smart handling job. And at this stage, the floodgates opened a little bit. It was a tired Richmond, a valiant Richmond. But the energy that came from the bench of Ealing, even though the game was pretty much secured, proved too much. Jordan Burns finding the pass to Angus Kernahan, who again, another man on the edge. He'd been kept relatively quiet from the action, but here he is, like the 65 bus that takes you from Richmond to Ealing, to arriving within a matter of moments, and happy to bag himself a brace on Ealing's championship day. There's Callum Sorpy getting a try, the students. And that was emblematic of the fight that Richmond had all game. They were chasing shadows at stages. You certainly couldn't fault the effort and endeavour from Richmond. So here's how the last round of fixtures ended on the weekend. Doncaster Knights, well, they did the business at Lady Bay. It took them nearly a full 80 to bag that bonus, but they did so eventually, and that put the pressure on Ealing Trailfinders. Cornish Pirates, they kicked off an hour before and led Ampthill pretty well at half-time. And Ampthill showing plenty of fight to come back for a 28-all draw. Credit to them, securing their position in the table. And they have it. Emphatic from first place Ealing Trailfinders, from champions Ealing Trailfinders, defeating A valiant Richmond, 60 points to 10. That's the final shakedown of some season. It took 20 games, but we got there in the end. We managed to sort the best from the rest, and that best was the home side today, Ealing Trailfinders. So the championship season is complete. The rugby season isn't complete, and that is across both men's and women's games. King's Home Stadium, a sellout, I understand, for the visit of Wales, happening on the 9th of April. And then it's up to the Midlands, to Welford Road, the home of Leicester Tigers, but the setting of one of the fiercest rivalries in international rugby, England versus Ireland. The Red Roses on the road around England and looking for a Grand Slam. Well, there you have it. 197 days of fierce competition across the league, distilled down to one climactic game. Ealing Trailfinders knew what they had to do, and they did it with aplomb. A 60-10 rout of Richmond to secure first place, but most importantly, that cherished title. They are the champions, no doubt about it. Ealing Trailfinders, winners of the RFU Championship 2022. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage, and we look forward to welcoming you back to when the championship returns.